Good morning. I'm speaking to you from a little bit different a place this morning because I can't be bound up and locked up in my little truck cab. I'm a little excited over a message and I got to be able to move. Glory, hallelujah. God on the mountain, that's a message this morning, is also God on the valley. When you're in your high points, God is God. When you're in your low points, when you're on your knees, when you don't know which way to turn, when you're crying out to God, that's when He's God of the valley, and He'll raise you up. He can't raise you up if you're up here, but He can raise you up if you're down here. I'm going to give you a little bit of Bible background. 1 Kings chapter 20. The armies of Syria were going to come to war against God's people, Israel. And God had already prophesied to Israel and said, I'm going to give you that victory. And it came to pass, of course. God's people warred against Syria, and the Syrians ran away. They fled. The war was over, and God's people with lesser army beat the Syrians, which had the great army. Now the Syrians, they went back to their place, and they were trying to figure everything in their head. We have a bigger military. We have more chariots. We have more men. We have more horses. Why did the Israelites beat us? We can't figure this out. And then some of the servants told the king, we know why. Because their God is God of the mountains, but He's not God of the valleys. We fought them on their mountaintops when they were on top of the world, when everything was great around them. We need to go fight them in the valleys because their God is God of the mountains and not God of the valleys. That's verse 23 of 1 Kings 20 if you want to look that up. They said they beat us because we fought them where they were the strongest. We need to attack them when they're the weakest. That's the way the devil does today. The devil will attack you when you're in your valleys, your lowest points, when you're on your knees, and your financial struggles and your marriage struggles, and everything's coming crashing down around you. That's when the devil wants to attack you. But the Lord had already prophesied to Israel and said, you know, the Syrians have fled, but they're coming back in the spring. And I want you to watch what I'm going to do. The Lord pointed to Himself. He said, I've got it. I've got it. He said in verse 28, He said, because they have said that I'm God of the mountain and I'm not God of the valley, I'm going to give you a great multitude of them into your hands, the greatest victory you've ever seen. Do you want to hear the conclusion of this story? The Israelites slew 100,000 of the Syrians in one day. And the ones of the Syrians that fled, God took care of them too. They fled into a city, and God caused a wall to fall down on 27,000 of them and take them out without the Israelites even having to touch them. God on the mountain is God in the valley. God when you're in your good times is God when you're in your bad times. He's even stronger when you're in your bad times because He can raise you up when you're on top. He can't raise you very far, but when you're on your knees and you're crying out to Jesus, that's when He can raise you plumb up to the top of the mountain. God of the mountain is God of the valley. When you're in your tough times, that's when it's time to reach out to God. I want you to reach out to Him and say, God, I've done all I can do. My life is in shambles. Everything's falling down around me. I need You this morning, God. That is the word that the Lord gave me this morning. I was too excited to sit in my truck. I got to move a little bit. I don't even know if I can ride from here to work in my truck. I got to clap my hands and stomp my feet because God of the mountain is also God of the valley. Glory. Y'all have a blessed day. I love you.